Meanwhile, Montana Governor and Democratic presidential candidate Steve Bullock, the latest hopeful to express frustration at the process for selecting who gets on the stage for next month's debate. Also taking a shot at a fellow candidate, billionaire hedge fund manager and liberal mega donor Tom Steyer, who was on our show yesterday. Yesterday, Bullock tweeted this: Tom Steyer spent nearly $10 million to buy his way onto the debate stage. But no matter what the DNC says, money does not vote, people do. The DNC is requiring candidates to have at least 130,000 donors while earning at least 2% in 4 different polls to qualify for next month's debate. Governor Bullock appears unlikely to meet that threshold, while Steyer, who announced yesterday on Morning Joe he had reached the donor requirement, is likely to qualify. In a statement, Bullock adds this: the DNC donor requirement may have been added with the right intentions, but there's no doubt that it's created a situation in which billionaires can buy their way onto the debate stage and campaigns are forced to spend millions on digital ads chasing $1 donors, not talking directly to voters. We're kidding ourselves if we're calling a $10 million purchase of 130,000 donors a demonstration of grassroots support. A lot of people, Rick Tyler, saying amen to that. A guy like Steve Bullock from a state in Montana, a very interesting candidate who won there in a very red state that Trump won by 20 points, struggling to get his voice out there.
Well, I understand his frustration, and I do agree that a Democrat who's won a red state probably has a better chance of winning a general election than someone from to more the left of the party. But I'm not sure what Bullock is saying. Here's how it works: is the reason Steyer can buy his way onto the stage is he does get all these individual donors, because what they do is they send out millions and millions, and I don't know how many millions of appeals, and it's just a numbers game, and you're going to be able to get the 130,000 donors. But if you don't have that seed money to get either the advertising, the direct mail, or the phone solicitation to get those donors, you're not going to make the 130,000. So that's his chief complaint. But if you take that away, then Steyer would only be left with one qualification, which is to get 2% in the polls. I'm not sure he's going to get that either. So I'm not sure, what the net is on that. What's his complaint? It would take that away. Steyer would end up being in the same position.
Well, Steyer, he has to hit one more poll. Most people think he will hit that poll and get on the debate stage. The irony, of course, Mike, is that Tom Steyer's entire campaign, the rationale is to get money out of politics, to get corporate interests out of Washington, and yet he's able to spend all the money he's spent over the years, and specifically this year, to get into the race.
Yeah, I think what Governor Bullock is really talking about, and he failed to use the word in his statement, I don't know why, is hypocrisy. I mean, Tom Steyer was on with us yesterday talking about his principal objective of why he wants to be president, and it was basically, according to my ear, to get corporate America, the influence and power and financial power of corporate America, out of politics. And yet here he is literally spending a ton of money out of his own fortune, which was built through his own skill, his own smarts, by destroying smaller companies or gobbling up smaller companies with his hedge fund. And now he's dumping money out to buy votes, really, to get on the stage. And he's done it successfully.
I mean, so the DNC did this ruling in order to try to democratize the process. Right. But actually in the process of doing this, what they've done is penalize some of the smaller campaigns who are complaining that it's taking them something like $75 in costs just to get a $1 in donation. And so you've had the unintended consequences of heavily weighting to somebody either who has a big social media base already, like Bernie or Elizabeth Warren, who already have that outreach, or you're waiting to somebody like Tom Steyer, who basically buy small donations, which is, of course, not what the DNC was intending to do, but it's been the consequence of it.
And I think in a few minutes we are going to have a candidate who will speak to this, Mike Bennett,
right,
who is a legitimately qualified candidate for president, who's apparently having difficulty raising money. He's from Colorado. He got into the race quite late, and he certainly doesn't have the resources, the personal resources, that Tom Steyer has.
And the other consequence it has is it devalues, in some ways, Iowa and New Hampshire, because the candidates are having to sit in TV studios in Washington or New York, or with access to television outreach, in order to try and get these donations. They're not spending as much time as they would traditionally have done in that early stage.
Everything you said about Senator Bennett, who will be on shortly, could be said about Governor Bullock as well. Coming up here, last year, Democrat Max Rose Rose flipped a congressional district that went for Donald Trump by nearly 10 points in 2016. So what's his advice for replicating that nationwide? The Staten Island lawmaker joins us to talk about that and much more next on Morning Joe.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.